The 2025 Illini football recruiting is wrapping up, and I like what I see, but I want a little bit more. Locked On Illini, let's go.
You are Locked On Illini, your daily podcast on the Illinois Fighting Illini. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Welcome back to another episode of Locked On Illini, recruiting day recap version of Locked On Illini. Thank you so much for joining us. Thank you so much for making us your first listen every single day. My name is Sunny Verma. You can find me at IlliniCast, at the Sunny V, Locked On Illini on all your favorite socials. Please drop by, say hello, send me a message, say something nice, say something mean, whatever it may be. I appreciate you taking the time to message. Today's episode is brought to you by FanDuel. You can start the season with a big return on FanDuel. New customers can place a $5 bet and you'll get started with $150 in bonus bets if you win your first $5 bet. Visit FanDuel.com to get started. So the recruiting for the 2025 class is slowly coming to an end, and it looks like we pretty much know what the class for the Illini is going to end up looking like. What was nice, and I've said this before, is that we didn't really have to worry about any late recruiting defections like we have had to in the last couple of years. Usually we're on the bad side of having another team come in, swoop in, and steal one of our marquee guys. This year, that wasn't the case. In fact, it was Illinois that was able to flip two recruits from Big Ten competition. It's a nice feeling. We're talking about Grant Bierman, who I did a little recap video of a few days ago. Please check it out on the channel if you want to watch some of his film from his junior year. And then also earlier on Wednesday, John Forster, a guy that Illinois had been recruiting pretty hard earlier, a running back, ultimately committed to Rutgers, but turns out early on Wednesday, essentially it didn't work out with Rutgers. John Forster became an Illini. Now, for what reasons? I'm not really quite sure. I did speak to Aaron Brightman from the Scarlet Faithful, and he did say that Forster's lack of outstanding numbers in his senior year contributed to Rutgers kind of not really being all that aggressive pursuing him in their recruiting class, whereas Illinois, who liked him back when he visited a few months ago, still continued the pursuit. And Rutgers was able to grab a flip from Wake Forest, a running back. And so John Forster, I think, just kind of read the tea leaves and he decided to go where he was still wanted. And I will tell you, the fact that Illinois, who already has a fantastic running back room, who have recruited a running back in this very class, who, by the way, is one of my favorite players, the fact that they were still interested in Forster tells me that the staff sees something in Forster that they really, really like. So who am I at this point to not like that signing? Now, let's talk about the class as a whole. With the flip of Forster, Illinois jumped to number 42 in the national rankings, which finished 12th in the Big Ten. Now, this is very familiar territory for the Illini. Just to give you a glimpse, these are the last 5 years of Illinois recruiting. In 2021, Illinois finished 70th, 13th in the Big Ten. In 2022, Illinois finished 63rd nationally, 12th in the Big Ten. In 2023, Illinois finished 54th nationally, 7th in the Big Ten. In 2024, they finished 45th nationally, 15th in the Big Ten. And this year, as I mentioned, 43rd nationally, 13th in the Big Ten. What we like seeing is that we're steadily going up, right? Maybe not as high as we want to go or as fast as we want to go. In 45 last year to 43 this year. It is nice that the average rating continues to also go up a little bit. That kind of gives you an idea of that we're raising the floor of this program with the talent that Brett Bielema is bringing in. And let's be honest, when we hired him 4 years ago, we knew that we weren't going to all of a sudden start getting top 10 or even top 15 recruiting classes. That's just something he's never really been known for, whether it was in previous successes at Wisconsin or his previous stop even in the SEC when he was a head coach of Arkansas. Brett Bielema is and always has been a talent developer. Even in Wisconsin, his best recruiting classes were in the 30s. He's just a guy who he knows what he wants. He knows what kind of player he wants, and he molds them into the best football players that they can possibly be. And don't get me wrong. Again, 54, 45, 43, the last 3 years worth of national recruiting rankings. You know what the ceiling for a program like that is? I'll tell you, it's 9-3, possibly 10-3. Do you know how I know that? Because that's exactly what this Illinois football team just finished. That's right. I mean, I've talked about this before, right? The lowest talent ranking in 24/7 coming into this season. And you kind of see why. When it comes to the Big Ten, we're kind of in the middle to bottom half. And for the most part, we're kind of lacking when it comes into bringing in 4 stars or 5 stars. But despite that, Brett is able to continue to produce on the field where, let's be honest, that's where it matters most. 9-3 was a record of your Illini football team this year. This is a coaching staff that continues to find good prospects and develop them into fantastic college football players. But having said all that, doesn't mean that I kind of want a little bit more. The lack of 4 stars, I'm not even imagining a 5-star coming to Champaign anytime soon. What this team clearly needs is playmakers. Now, I think we got a couple in this class. Braden Trimble, Grant Bierman, who I referenced earlier. And I'm going to kind of dissect the players a little bit more in depth in a later episode. I'm kind of filming this one a little late because I was going back and forth on how I want to go about it, especially with the time restriction I have on the show. And I decided I'm going to ultimately wait for Brett Bielema to talk about the recruits on Thursday in his press conference, where he basically recaps the class. And I'll kind of have an idea about how he feels about certain players and whether it matches up with my thoughts on them. So today, I just kind of want to talk about the class as a whole. I'm not going to get ahead of myself and wonder why a 9-3 season this year didn't produce a higher recruiting class, because obviously that's not how the timeline works, right? This recruiting class was built off of relationships from the past couple of years. It's next year's recruiting class, the 2026 one, and maybe the 2027 one, where all of a sudden I'm really hoping that we get to see some of the positive momentum from a 9-3, potentially 10-3 season and what that can bring. I'm really hoping that it's going to catch the attention of more 4 stars, more guys in state who realize that staying home could offer them the opportunity to contend for a Big Ten championship or just otherwise just have a successful college football career. Oh, and by the way, the staff will also develop you for the next level. Again, I'm not trying to sit here and sound ungrateful. I'm genuinely excited about some of the players in this class. And again, I do think that Brett every single year raises the floor of what this football team can be. But I guess at the same time, I'm kind of teased by how good we can be. I really think, at least over the next couple of years, with the momentum that we've built from this past season, that our goal should be to finish right around the middle of the Big Ten. Okay, there's 18 teams now. If we can make it a goal to finish 9th or 10th, which I absolutely do think is plausible, I think Illinois is going to be in really good shape. Mainly because of the coaching staff I keep talking about. I know the guys that we bring in, we can develop to become the best college football players that they're meant to be. But the problem is, for Illinois, and it has been for a very, very long time, is that the caliber of recruit that we've been bringing in doesn't quite match up with the caliber of recruit that our competitors and our competition are doing in the Big Ten Conference. Now, Brett has done a great job bringing in transfers who have just kind of offset maybe some of the recruiting deficiencies that we've had. And I think that's going to continue to improve. I think that Illinois is going to, at some point, become almost a destination for guys who may have been former high 3 stars or 4 stars who it didn't work out for them at their first or maybe even second spot. And they realize that now, hey, I got 2 years to prove myself, to really work hard and make sure I do everything in my power to make it to the next level. And hey, that staff at Illinois, they do that. And so I do think that Illinois is going to slowly, especially if we can start raising our NIL funds a little bit, become that sort of destination. But it's just going to be best for everybody if we can kind of do that on the preps side as well. And by the way, speaking of NIL, I will be having Kathleen Knight of Icon. She's the head of Icon on the show sometime maybe next week. So if you have questions that you want to ask about how to get involved or what the process is like, please let me know in the comment section. In any of my social media feeds, there'll be a Discord link in the description here. That's where I'm kind of bantering back and forth with my Discord community all day, every day. Shout out to you guys. So if you have any questions, let me know. Again, it's for me. I'm an Illinois athletics supporter, right? So I want us to maximize all the resources that we have. And I do understand that NIL is such a new concept that people may not really understand how to get involved or what it entails. And so I want to basically make the message as easy as possible. I'm not affiliated in any sort of way. Not at all. Just simply a guy who wants to spread the message, and then ultimately it's up to you to decide. Obviously, NIL is something that I think about a lot on days like Wednesday when it comes to seeing these final recruiting rankings and seeing guys that I know really wanted to play for our teams, but ultimately decided to go somewhere else because, well, they were offered out twice, sometimes even 3 times as much money as they were being offered here at Illinois. I'm not saying we're ever going to close that gap, but if we can just continually, again, move up, right? That's what Bret Bielema said. He just wanted to be in kind of like the middle section of the Big Ten when it comes to NIL fund. But all in all, I'll give this recruiting class a B as a grade. And I'm just considering the context of Illinois, where we are in the national landscape, and what our expectations are, and all those factors I'm taking into place. Again, I'm going to be looking closer into the actual players in a future episode. Today, I just want to give my high view thoughts on what I thought of the guys that we're bringing in, and basically compared to the guys we've been bringing in previous years. So far, the trajectory is good. All I'm saying is I do think that it can be a little bit better. Hate the team you drafted in season-long fantasy, but want to stay in the action? Introducing Better Together, the first cooperative daily fantasy platform where teamwork triumphs talent, and you can play with your friends and not against them. Pick more or less on real-time player stats, strategize with your partner to boost your odds, and climb the leaderboard together. So, grab a friend, join the social dating fantasy movement at Better Together. Better Together is the first cooperative daily fantasy application that provides a sense of camaraderie and enhances the social experience of watching sports, and is a way to stay connected with friends when you can't watch sports together in person. Download Better Together now from the App Store and sign up using promo code LOCKEDON for a free $10 entry into any NCAA football or NFL contest. Play with me in the Locked On CFB Saturday games. Contest is Saturday. Remember, the code is Locked On, because winning alone is fun, but it's better together. For those of you who follow Bret Bielema on social media, and if you don't, you're missing out on a lot of fun. I highly suggest that you do. You've seen over the last couple weeks, Bret Bielema really going to bat for the University of Illinois. Now, it looks like Illinois, where they're placed, is going to be playing in the Citrus Bowl against somebody. Earlier last week, it looked like it was going to be Alabama. Now it looks like it's not going to be Alabama anymore. Alabama's going to actually sneak its way into the college football playoff. And more than likely, it's going to be either Southern Carolina or Ole Miss. And Ole Miss is interesting because Bret Bielema has kind of been sniping back and forth with Ole Miss head coach Lane Kiffin. Now, Lane Kiffin has been tweeting himself about how he feels like his Rebels are more than qualified to make the college football playoff. And basically, he's just sharing a snapshot or a graphic, which I'm sure one of his interns made or put together, and showing, obviously biased stats that could suggest that Ole Miss should be in the playoff. Well, Bret Bielema twice now, at least twice, it could be more than that, has basically quoted Lane Kiffin's own tweet and provided his own analysis, which, again, I'm sure is made by one of Bret's interns that show Illinois in a more favorable light when it comes to making the college football playoff, at least against the other competition that supposedly is getting in ahead of them. Now, if you take a look at the comments and replies under Brett's tweets, you see a lot of ridicule. And I'll be honest, that doesn't really surprise me. For those of you that are sensitive, earmuffs. Illinois' resume is not one that warrants consideration for a college football playoff spot. It's a very good one. It's a very good football team, but not one of the 12 best resumes that deserve to be in the playoffs. Now, you want to know another little secret? I think Brett Bielema knows that. I think Brett Bielema understands that. We really don't have a great win on the season. Sure, our losses have been actually fantastic. You're talking about losing to Oregon and Penn State, two of the top 4 teams in the country, and two of the teams who, by the way, are playing on Saturday for the Big Ten Championship, and a very solid 7-5 Minnesota football team. Again, the losses are not that bad, but we really just don't have that big victory over a national power or a national brand name that really gives Illinois the attention that maybe it deserves. If maybe they had won that game against Minnesota, now are you talking about possibly sneaking into the playoff? I took a look. I still don't think we make it. I think we probably would have been the first team out. That's right, team number 13. And imagine how much that would have stung. But again, it's all just because we didn't really have a signature win on this season. But back to my original point. Why is Brett Bielema doing this? Why, if Brett Bielema knows that if we compare our numbers to our contemporaries, that we probably fall a little short? It's because Brett Bielema understands the long game when it comes to Illinois football. Illinois doesn't have much of a brand name when it comes to football. Sure, we do on the basketball side. Sure, we get the eyes and the viewership on the basketball side. By the way, not sure if you guys saw that stat, but Illinois versus Arkansas was like the second most viewed college basketball game in recent memory. Again, Illinois absolutely does have a brand name on the basketball side, but it's still at the foundations of being built on the football side. And what Brett Bielema is doing right now is he's involving Illinois in the conversation. If this were Lovie Smith or Coach X or Coach Y, we'd be content finishing at number 21. You wouldn't hear a peep about Illinois. People would just vaguely even remember, even next year, that Illinois had a good football team. What's happening right now is Brett is essentially making people talk about Illinois. Now, sure, right now, it doesn't look too favorably for us, but that doesn't really mean anything for the long game. The point is we're trying to have Illinois in the minds of national writers, in front of fans, all of that, because next year we may have the resume. We might have that signature win that we need. We finished 9-3 this year. What if we finish 10-2 next season with the victory over Ohio State in Champaign? We don't want to be at the risk of being one of those quiet teams that no one's really talking about, so committees really don't mind just looking over or glossing over. No, that's not what we want. What we want is Illinois to be in the breath and the minds of college football fans all across the country. And that's what Brett Bielema is doing. Brett knows someone has to stand up for Illinois football because in the past, nobody has. And that's why this football program has been beaten down for so long. That's why us loyal fans are so grateful for a guy like Brett. Sure, from the outside and to other fans, it sounds like he's whining, that he's complaining. And, it's making other people not like Brett Bielema. But you know what? Who cares? Brett Bielema is looking out for one thing and one thing only. And that's Illinois football. And guess what? That's all I need.
Get ready to tackle the NFL action with FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook. Because right now, new customers can bet $5 and get $150 in bonus bets if you win. The FanDuel Sportsbook app gives you everything you need to place live bets on the NFL all in one place. So When you get a hunch in the middle of the game, you can check out the latest stats, view live play-by-play, and so much more on the same page where you place your bets. Just visit FanDuel.com to join today, and you'll get started with $150 in bonus bets if you win your first $5 bet. That's FanDuel.com. Never waste a hunch and make every moment more. FanDuel, an official sportsbook partner of the NFL.
And that's going to wrap it up for this edition of Locked On Illini. Thank you all so much for tuning in. Again, I'll have a little bit more in-depth on a couple players that I wanted to highlight from this recruiting class a little bit later on in this week. We also have Northwestern and Big Ten basketball officially kicks off on Friday evening. So I'll try to do a show on that morning and also have a post-game on Friday night. Please, on your way out, if you don't mind, hit that subscribe button. Hit that like button. I know it sounds annoying sometimes, but I assure you that I only do it and I only ask because it genuinely does help, and it costs you guys nothing. It helps little shows like mine continue to grow because it sends it out to other Illini fans who might otherwise be interested, but they just have never heard of the show before. Again, find me on all your favorite social medias, on Discord, whatever it may be. It's my goal to hit 2,000 subs by the end of the calendar year. Honestly, it doesn't look like it's very feasible right now, but you never know. When it comes to me, I'll be continuing to produce content for you every single day. That's daily, at least a half hour. And the support that this community continues to show me makes me want to continue to produce content for you. So again, hit that subscribe button. And until next time, ILL. Love you guys.